This video contains spoilers of the movie, so if you don't want to see any spoilers, don't watch this and come back to this later when you have seen the movie. Yes. Ninjakees. Yo ninjas, NINJABOX, ishhh, and what did you eat today? Alright, right now we're gonna review The Boy and the Heron, which is a movie directed and written by Hayao Miyazaki. He's one of the legendary animators like Disney, but from Japan. Most of you probably already know his work, and now we're gonna check out and review The Boy and the Heron. Not The Boy and the Beast or Beauty and the Beast, but The Boy and the Heron. So I just came back from the movie with a fellow mate Fate, and we just checked out at Pathé, the latest movie, the anime movie in cinema, and I was really happy that we went there. And it's cool to see an actual anime movie in cinema, because those are quite rare over here. Well, lately they're coming up a bit more in cinema, and you know. The Boy and the Heron is directed by Hayao Miyazaki and also written by him, produced by Toshio Suzuki and produced by Studio Ghibli. So the Japanese title also refers to Genzaburō Yoshino's 1937 novel with the same name, which briefly appears in the movie, but the film originally has its own story that's not connected to the novel. The movie's running time is 124 minutes. But yeah, when I was in there, time goes really fast, and yeah, it's so far I experienced it's an amazing, beautiful movie like you expect from a Miyazaki movie. Most of you already probably seen his movies, and yeah. So the movie starts with the Pacific War in Tokyo. Mahito loses his mother in the flames in a hospital fire, and it's really well animated. And then his father marries his late wife's sister, Natsuko, and at some point events happen where Mahito has to search for Natsuko. She disappeared in this strange, like, building or something. She went in the forest and disappeared, so he's gonna search for her. But in between all that, like when he lost his mother in the fire, in the hospital fire, he got also a lot of dreams and stuff. And you have these amazing sequences of animation with the fire and all that, and the beautiful paintings, of course, of Hayao Miyazaki. His movies and the acting is also really well done. Also, like, you have this guy, this little boy, he's putting on his pants and all that, and just the way how it's animated, it feels really natural. Just watching the movie, as most of you seen Miyazaki's movies, it's just really well done, and it feels like all this animation in between. Like you have this scene where he runs towards this weird ass house and he steps in like the mud, and you really see that, you feel it, you know, just that animation. You really feel that impact. Just even though it's a simple scene, he just puts his feet there in the mud, and you know, you really feel it. It was just a little glimpse that I just noticed when watching, and these little things, the cars animated and all that, like how they move and all that, really well done. So since the movie is titled The Boy and the Heron, you will most likely expect a heron, which appeared in the movie. So basically this boy, Mahito, he moves to another place, somewhere in the mountains. This big ass Japanese building, and his father has this factory. He's probably really wealthy, else they cannot live there. And it's also in the war time, during the Pacific War in Tokyo. That's where the first part started, and they moved to another place. It's a few years later, when he lost his mother, they moved to another place. He is tired, and this heron, you all already in the movie get some glimpses of the heron that is acting weird. So basically Mahito moves to this place, and he has to get used to it a bit, or he just got there, you know. And then this heron just flies by in through the house. The house is really big, and this hall, it flies through that. And then Natsuko is like his new mother, and she says like that heron never did that. He never really did something like that. So it's like already a trigger for later that you know this Heron is special. Yeah, you know it already from the movie title. But you know, if the movie builds up further, you will see more moments, themes building up to that the Heron is doing weird ass shit, you know. And also the interesting part is when Mahito firstly entered the new house where he is staying. You have like these 7 old grandmas. They're really well designed. Like they're really small. Like and they seem big. You know, the way their shape is really like they're like these old babas, these old obasans. You know, they feel really. They're small because if you get older, you get smaller like this, right? And then they feel big. Their shape. And also when I saw them for the first, they look also really funny, like how they act and all that. And it really reminded me of the 7 dwarfs. Because when I saw them, I immediately reminded me of the 7 dwarfs. And Miyazaki is also a Disney fan, I believe, or he's the Japanese Disney guy. But I also counted them right away, and I counted 7 of them. So 7 babas, I'm not sure exactly what's going behind it, but it reminded me. I thought it was like a metaphor or some little thing that he did there, like 7 old, and they also, how they act and all that, and they want tobacco and all that, like because in the war period, maybe tobacco, like smoking stuff, is like a currency or worth a lot, you know. I believe Miyazaki also smokes a lot himself. I'm not sure if he still does it. He's also getting older, like he's like 83 years old, and you know, this movie is also supposed to, I believe, have a message in there when I saw the movie. But yeah, the acting of the animation, the acting of the characters, this Heron at some point gets crazy, you know. Like normally you have the beak of the Heron, and then suddenly you get these teeth in there, and this weird ass shit is going on, all these hints, and this Mahito fella, he just he sees the weirder's house, he wants to check it out, and at some point he has to, like, this Heron is doing weird. Sometimes it felt a bit like he was dreaming it when stuff happened, but maybe it was real life. Sometimes a bit fake, like a bit wheezy wowzy, you know. And at some point he just grabs this stick and just this Heron is acting weird, right? And he's talking about his mother and how he knows she's still alive and all that, even though she died in the fire in the hospital. And then at some point in the scene, this guy, this little fella, he's really brave. He just grabs this stick with a bit sharp point at the end, and he searches for this Heron, and he just walks outside, and suddenly this Heron comes flying, you know, towards him near the river, the lake, and he's just preparing for battle. And he already is in battle pose. He just slams at the Heron that's coming right at him. And the Heron just easily snaps the stick and breaks it easily and all that. Crazy scene, or it looks really epic. But yeah, later a lot of this Heron lures him and all that. Yeah, a lot of stuff happens, just go watch it. But yeah, the acting is really awesome. The animation, of course, the direction. And also, watching these Miyazaki movies is just, because I have not seen them in a bit, it's just amazing to see again how awesomely painted those sceneries are, and it's like also a bit slice of life at the beginning, more slice of life like it feels real, you know, when you just watch it, and the whole animation and all that, just amazing. These camera shots going up to that place where they live, really beautifully made. Also a combination with the music, it's where it is needed. They have music, and it's also awesome that they have at some points just silence, you know. Like a lot of movies these days have probably a lot of soundtracks and all these sound effects and all that. But sometimes in this movie you just can have a moment of silence. Just watching what's going on and just a little bit of silence. You hear it in the cinema, when you sit in the cinema, silence. Just that moment, and then bam, suddenly sometimes there, when the moments come for more music and all that just gives it more impact. But it's just great to see and hear, of course, to have these silent moments when it's needed, or, you know, to tell the story. And also the meaning, the boy and the heron means, how do you live? And if you watch the movie, going further in the plot, in the story, through from the beginning, middle to the end, at least in my eyes, when I watched it, I felt a bit like Hayao Miyazaki is wanting to try to tell something to the audience. And maybe if you're a normal watcher, you don't really look at it like that, but that's how I saw it. I'm not sure if some of you have seen that, especially near the ending. The thing with this movie is it's at the beginning, like a lot of times with Miyazaki movies, it's like a slice of life, realistic sort of. And this is like in the older period, you know, with the war and all that, back in the days with, yeah, the wars in Japan and all that. So you have a moment in these Miyazaki movies where there's a supernatural moment where this Mahito discovers like this other dimension or reality or something like that. Like where, because they introduce this stuff, they can have a great reason to animate these amazing sequences and all that, and going to different worlds, sceneries, and what animation can do versus reality. Like, because it's drawn, you can have these crazy, amazing worlds, and because of introducing like this heron sort of lures this main character Mahito, he's a little kid, a boy, lures him with like, okay, your mother is still alive. So even though Mahito knows that it's not true, it cannot be true, he still is curious and therefore seeks that curiosity with bravery and courage, which he explores a lot of times. Like he first wants to attack with this stick, wants to attack this heron, and then later with a knife, and he builds a bow and arrow. Like he just, oh yeah, that was a thing. When he the first time wants to slap this heron with a stick, or slice him with a stick, and then he got taken over by the heron sort of, and all these weird toads and shit or fishes come all over him. But then his other new mother, Natsuko, comes running with the old babas with this bow and arrow and shoots at the heron and all that. And then he is like sleeping. There's also a moment where he gets bullied on school and all that and hurts himself hard in the head, gets a scar and this big ass bandage here. But when he wakes up, and then I guess the inspiration for Mahito was he makes the bow when he saw in the other moment that his other mother, his new mother, Natsuko, uses the bow to shoot the heron, and then he decides to make it himself. So it's really cool to see these animated sequences where he just from scratch makes this bow, you know, out of this bamboo. He just cuts it and all that. And also there's a fun moment somewhere where he steals some tobacco from this other room with his mother. He's laying on bed or something with the old baba, and he steals like one of the tobaccos, and then you have this old man in this house or somewhere, because it's really big, and that old man helps him to make his knife sharper, and then he gives his a pack of tobacco. And you have this other old baba, I forgot her name right now. She sort of sticks a bit with Mahito, and then also later Mahito goes to they were searching for Natsuko, who suddenly disappeared, and Mahito saw that his new mother went into the forest with a little glimpse. So he went to following this track, and this old baba says, yeah, don't go there, it's dangerous and all that. But he still goes there, and she sort of sticks with him, and then later discovers that this heron is somewhere there, lures him in this sort of path, and then the door closes with the old baba in there and Mahito. And then they go in there, lots of crazy shit happens. He also takes the feather for the bow. He uses a feather on the thing. You know, if you have like a bow and arrow, at the end, he grabbed some feathers from the heron that acts really crazy. But to make it, you know, shoot the bow and arrow, he puts it at the end of the arrow, and then that it can actually, you know, he tests out. You have this amazing shot, literally like something like this, where he like shoots this arrow in his wall to check out if it worked with the feather, because before that it didn't. And yeah, so basically he follows up this heron into this place, and his mother is laying there. But when the heron is like luring him in there, you know, like, oh yeah, here's your mother, she's still alive and all that, and he touches her, and suddenly she just melts like water, like all the way. And then all this crazy shit happens and all that, and then suddenly they get into, they drip down at some point in this new sort of world, and then lots of crazy worlds experiences happen. It's like smoking some shit or whatever. But yeah, they just appear in another world, and many crazy stuff happens there. He gets attacked by all these birds, and because he has the feather, they don't eat him. And at some point you have some parrots, and you have this woman before that that helps him. Like he goes on a boat to this place and all that. You have all these crazy themes and all that, but somehow it connects by, you know, just falling in those dimensions, or you have these doors that they open and go to another one. So it's really like maybe Alice in Wonderland, like Fate said, or some other things, some craziness. But I guess if you are a Miyazaki fan or watch his movies, you know what's he all about, you know, and you kind of can expect those kinds of things. And also for the medium, it makes an awesome experience to see all that. I'm not too fan of an isekai, but it looks really beautiful. Sometimes it's maybe a bit too much or something, but I think it's an awesome experience. The pacing goes also quite fast, you get quite through it. But also the thing with this movie is you go like from reality, so to speak, to all these other themes, you know, you have this other worlds, and I think it's the afterlife or before life, like this other world, because in this other world you have like these weirdest white, cute, kawaii creatures, small, with hands and all the faces, and then at some point you find out that they go upwards and they are born as new people, something like that. There's a lot of things going on in this movie. At some point you have all these little white sort of fluffy creatures. They go all upwards to go and be born, you know. But then at some point you have all these birds, these white birds. What are they called? Herons? White herons? Or the birds that carry babies, you know. At some point I thought, okay, wait, all these birds appear, and to me they look like the birds that they say that where babies come from. They carry the babies, but then they eat the babies, or the, so to speak, becoming born babies. So they suddenly eat all these babies, and then this boat appears with this woman, this girl, that flames the shit out of these birds and just burns a lot of them, or just they go away, you know. But the thing is, I already noticed at some point that this is a hint that this girl is actually Mahito's mother. She like burned to death in the hospital, but now she has like fire powers, you know? It's maybe a sort of hint or metaphor, or playing with time. That's one of the reasons why you probably have to watch this movie a few times to maybe understand it a bit better, because a lot of crazy things going on, and what Miyazaki is trying to tell the audience. But the pacing is going fast, like the different worlds and all that. At some point they appear at these oh yeah, the heron is at first a bit of an enemy, but then sort of later he's also lying a lot, and later becomes a bit of a friend, sort of, and an ally. And at some point they appear at this sort of house with parrots and stuff. These big ass, like not normal sized parrots, or I think they're parrots, like these colorful birds that speak, or parrots or something. But basically they're more humanoid, right? So because this is a fantasy world. And then he goes in this house and they try to eat him, and they're quite cute looking, or not cute, but fluffy, like they are not scary looking, so to speak, but more like, yeah, what's the word for it? Like a Psyduck or something, Golduck from Pokemon maybe, or so. They don't look too scary, but they still have all these knives and trying to eat. They look funny. A lot of the audience in the cinema when all these parrots appeared, they had to laugh a lot. They looked funny, yeah. Yeah, at some point they appear in this world where a lot of the parrots are basically the the common folk, so to speak. There also were a lot of doors where they could go into. There was a moment where Mahito could go back to his real world. His mother in younger form with fire powers, I forgot her name right now, but she says like, okay, you can now go back to your world, but then Mahito doesn't want to go back to his world. He wants to save and bring back Natsuko, who disappeared into that world, you know, to bring her back. That's why the whole reason of this movie is to get Natsuko back, his other mother, you know, and maybe that's a metaphor, you know, getting a new mother, because he, before that, a moment in his house, when he was back in his house, his new house, he was also reading this book that his mother seems to be left behind, and there were some notes in it. He was reading it, crying, you know, and also he had dreams before that about his mother in the fire burning and all that, because, you know, it's a real trauma if that stuff happens, especially, you know, with your own mother, if something like that happens. And then he goes to sleep, get these dreams, and you see a little tear. It's sad to see. And also if you recently lost someone, you know. Yeah, the editing, awesome stuff. The pacing, yeah. Near the end, you have this old guy who sort of is like the creator or something. There was this stone, I forgot exactly what happened, but you have this old guy. It feels like this supernatural heaven, or not heaven, but this guy that created the world or whatever. You have this old guy sitting there with these blocks, a triangle block, square block, different types of blocks that he put on each other to make a little sort of tower of them. Just simply shaped blocks. And this old guy has this big as mustache and this spiky hair and all that. But when I saw him for the first time, it reminded me of that being Hayao Miyazaki in a way. Like, not literally, but in a way, this character is Hayao Miyazaki and trying to tell the audience something. Because you have this little boy, Mahito, and this guy says like, what did he say again? He created the world, that world or whatever, this other world, and his bloodline has to take it over, and it takes some things to... He wants a successor, you know? He wants a successor for this world, because he also is getting older and something like that. And when he said that character, it really reminded me of Hayao Miyazaki actually himself telling that to his son, or maybe his grandson or his bloodline, of him wanting a successor, because he's 82 years old and at some point it's over, right? But he retired a lot of times, so we heard on the interweb or news maybe. But he still keeps going on making these amazing movies. But at some point in life, well, it's over, right? Then who is gonna take it over? So maybe it felt a bit like a message he wants to tell his son or child or his grandchild or something, like that he wants them to take it over, or and give their, like, it's not easy, or, you know, to keep the world, to keep that kind of thing intact. Like, and also because it's not easy to make these movies and to get the same standard and all that, you know. It really felt like this message of Hayao Miyazaki being there, at least to me. Like, if you watch the movie yourself, I'm not sure if you saw that or maybe saw other things that I did not see or just didn't realize yet. But I think this is definitely a movie you have to see a few times to understand it a bit better, because a lot of crazy things happen and some metaphors are being put in there. It's not like for your average shonen battle consumer, I suppose, but it's going a bit more deep here and there with themes, acting, the characters, and maybe some messages in there of the creator himself. Because if you create stories like this, well, the creator's in there, right? Maybe he's also putting himself in Mahito. Like, I guess any character, he puts himself in there, but also like introducing this old man, you know? Like, and then, yeah, that message or messages going in there. And then you had like these parrots, like you had King Parrots and his minions. The minion parrots are his, that work for him. But you have like this main big, the main head guy parrot, and he kind of wants to, he just at some point came there and destroyed the blocks and destroyed the world. All this shit turned crazy, and it felt a bit like this parrot is like the the people that pay for this anime, the animation movie, like, or the producers or whatever, like, they cannot make those worlds themselves. Yeah, I don't know, there was some moments, I have to see it again, but there were some moments where I felt a bit like, okay, you have this old guy, that's Hayao Miyazaki, and then these parrots want to keep stuff intact. There was something going on there with these parrots, where I felt like those are the consumers or the people that yeah, pay for the anime and want to keep it intact and such. This old guy wanted to, he chose this successor, specifically Mahito, and the parrot didn't agree, the king parrot didn't agree or something, and at some point he just sliced the shit, these blocks, and the stone and the things turned crazy. This sort of stone, I assume it's a metaphor that represents the world, or there was something going on there. Yeah, that was it. The parakeet king takes the blocks and tries to build a better world himself, but the stack is too unstable and falls. The world begins to collapse and flood, and all this crazy shit happens. So it's like, sometimes like the big guys with the money think they know better, but they don't. Or it feels a bit like that. Like Miyazaki tried to say something like that. Like that the Parrot King is like the producer or the people that pay for the anime, and they think they know it better. But Miyazaki has to steer the ship for the right direction of these kind of anime movies. And then trying to tell some sort of message in there. But maybe that's just too far-fetched, too deep, or maybe there was no message. But that's how I saw it, at least, as also from a creator standpoint in a way. Because I also make manga myself and stories, so maybe then, if you're also an artist or a creator, you look at it differently. But yeah, overall, I think it's an amazing movie. I definitely recommend you to see it, especially if you're into Miyazaki movies. Just everything put together, it's amazing. The acting, the animation, the plot might be... Yeah, he searches for his mother, his new mother. His other mother passed away, and then his father found a new mother. So he's... yeah, have to get used to that. And then he has to, you know, search for, bring her back. Yeah, the direction, the cinematography, the whole amazing atmosphere, the paintings, animation, music, it's all an awesome complete picture. Maybe it's a bit spacey here and there, or what's going on for the average Joe. But if you're a fan of Miyazaki's work, you probably will enjoy this one. And maybe you have to see it a few times to understand some things a bit better. And it's also just beautiful to look at, just how things are drawn, move, the sound, and the acting, you know, this. Sometimes it's just something simple. You have a character doing this, or putting on a jacket, but the way it is animated, it just flows real nice. Also, you know, the whole animation and all that. It's just beautifully to look at, just by itself. And then, yeah, you have also a lot of crazy things happening, but the way it's animated and all that looks really beautiful, as always. Now, if this is one of my top 3 Miyazaki movies, I'm not too sure. I don't think so. I think Howl's Moving Castle is still my #1 favorite. Then probably Spirited Away and Arrietty, where this girl's small, these little borrowers. They're called the borrowers or something. I think those 3 movies are still my top 3 favorites. Also, Castle in the Sky was awesome. I've not seen every single movie of it. But yeah, I think for everyone there's probably a Miyazaki movie out there. So what's your favorite Miyazaki movie? Also, by the way, he also worked on Heidi, I believe, back in the days. Like, it was back in the days on TV, like this anime TV show called Heidi. It's really old school, but I believe that's one of his earlier projects. From what I remember when watching his documentary called The Kingdom of Dreams and Madness. That's the documentary of Hayao Miyazaki. And if you're interested in the creator, check it out. It's really interesting to see. It's actually right now a reminder to watch it again. But yeah, I definitely recommend to check out this movie. It's not my top 10 Miyazaki films, I think, but I definitely want to see it at least one more time or a few more times to understand some things better. So yeah, ninjas, what did you got from this movie? Did you see it different or saw things that I did not see? Or maybe you saw it differently. Yes, what's your favorite Miyazaki movie? Let us know in the comments. Alright, ninjas. So I give this movie 4 out of 5 ninja stars out of 5. It's not my favorite Miyazaki movie in the top 3, but it's definitely an awesome movie to see. Yeah, because I have other favorite movies of Miyazaki that I enjoy more, I think. Maybe it takes time to get more used to this movie, or it might rank up later. I don't know yet, but because it's not my favorite right now yet, at least, I give it now a 4 out of 5 of the Miyazaki movies. So yes, what do you think about it? How many ninja stars do you give The Boy and the Heron? Also, by the way, I wonder if this will be his last movie or new movies will come out. I've not researched it or anything. But yeah, hopefully he can keep creating if he wants to. And of course he will, I think, if he can. Because it's his passion, right? It is love for the work, or just it's just what he does, right? Yeah. So yeah, thank you very much for joining once again, NINJABOX ishhh, and see you the next time. Ninjakees out. Ninjakees. Thanks for joining once again, NINJABOX ishhh, and see you ninjas the next time. Ninjakees out.